sure most of you have met her. Let's see how many of you know her. Oh, that's shameful. Because all of you saw her at the Q Quest. You forgot it.
Yes, maybe I forgot.
All right. So Elise is the director for the Sakala Center, where students go to have fun and learn and get job advice and everything there. And so I think for this term she's come like twice.
Yes.
Sometimes she comes like 3 times. So she's an expert, so many things. And we were talking about a course that is called conflict resolution. That she probably should be teaching next term and next summer, so we can plan to have that. One more announcement. I have your exam scripts because you are so many. I have grouped them into the numbers that you wrote. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you go to that high, you'll find your own paper. Otherwise, you spend 1 hour here. So join me in welcoming Elise to our class.
I can't remember last time I had such a big class. No, it's good to see so many first-year students. As Dr. Donker mentioned, I work over at the Sakala Success Center. Most of you probably know where that is. It's at the lower level in the administration building. We are where the massage chair is located. And we provide a lot of supports for students there. Some of you I know have come in for your CSI results. Some of you have probably come in to talk to Crystal for various reasons. We also have a counselor on staff, so if you're interested in counseling, you can stop in there. It's also where we arrange all the tutoring. So if you're interested in tutoring, there are tutoring schedules all across campus. They're on a blue paper. If there is a class you need tutoring in and it is not on that list, just come by and talk to Crystal, and she will arrange something. All of those services are free to students on campus. So don't let the idea that, oh, if I have to pay for a tutor, you don't. Oh, if I have to pay for counseling, you don't. So if you have any questions, just come in and see us. And we also do some fun activities. Tomorrow, we have a masseuse who will be in the center between 2:30 and 4:30. First come, first serve. So if you're interested in getting a chair massage, she's there from 2:30 to 4:30. So typically what happens is when students show up, they put their name on the list. And then we try to get through everyone on the list, but it doesn't always happen. But if you miss her, we do have our massage chair. Now, I do want to do one shameless plug before I start. We are hosting this year a poster competition all about addictions. So we have partnered with Recovery on Campus, which is a provincial organization to raise awareness and understanding about addictions and recovery, particularly among the post-secondary population. So over the last couple of years, we've hosted this, but we have only invited the abnormal psychology class to create posters. And they've done an amazing job. And we thought this year, why don't we open it up, make it a bigger competition, and give out great prizes. So we have 4 prizes. They're each a $100 gift card that will be handed out in 4 different categories. The most informative, the most creative, the best messaging or theme, and then the People's Choice Award. You can create a poster on your own, or you can partner with somebody to create a poster. If you scan this QR code, and these posters are also all across campus, it will take you to a document that gives you all the details about this competition. It will be taking place during National Addiction Awareness Week, and that's the 3rd week in November. We will be hosting this on November 20th, which is a Thursday, over in the Science Center. And we will have some other activities going on in addition to having the posters up. So if you think this is something you would like to do, oh wait, there it was. Come on. This is just an example of what your posters could look like. You can be creative, you can be scientific, you can be practical. There are a couple of professors that are providing extra credit for participating, so if you think that might be one of your professors, have a chat with them. If you have any questions, you can come by the center and talk to me. If you want to participate, I'm just asking that you send me an email with your topic so that we don't end up with, 10 posters all on the same topic. When we're talking about addictions, it's open. Any behavior that becomes problematic because you do it all the time can be classified as an addiction. Some that surprise people would be an exercise addiction. People that put exercise and exercising above everything else. I'm not going to talk too much about that because when I'm here in November, that's my topic, all about addictions. So, if you're creative, even if you're not, and you like the idea of creating something that's not necessarily getting graded, but that has the potential of winning you a $100 gift card, think about signing up for our poster competitions. All right. Shameless plug is over. I'm going to be talking to you today about self-care. And I'm taking a bit of a different approach to talking about self-care because you are a group of students who have come through COVID. And I think as we came through COVID, there was a lot of focus on mental health and wellness, looking after yourself, practicing behaviors that really respected what your needs were and what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. So I will give you some of the typical information you would expect to hear in a self-care presentation. But we're also going to look at having a mindset that keeps you focused and actually carrying out practices that help you look after yourself. You guys have been here for what now? Almost 2 months? And you've probably had the chance to realize, oh, okay, university is okay, I guess, but it isn't what I expected. Maybe you arrived, typically what we see, students arrive on campus at the end of August, they're excited, they're full of energy, they're full of their hopes and dreams and high expectations, and by the time midterms come around, some of that kind of has worn off. And yeah, really? And the reality of actual post-secondary life is settled in. So for those of you who have come to Berman right out of high school, you've probably figured out that when you were in high school, most of your learning took place in the classroom. So typically 80% of your learning happens in the classroom, 20% you do as homework. When you get to university, that flips on its head. Actually, what you learn in the classroom is a smaller percentage. And if you look at research, they'll say it's now 20-80. 20% is in the classroom, conversations with your professors, work you do, lectures you hear. But 80% is you on your own, outside the classroom, reading textbooks, doing research, writing papers. So it takes quite an adjustment to figure out exactly how much time you need to spend when you are tackling your university coursework. And for some, that's a big learning curve. What tends to get shoved off the schedule is looking after yourselves. and really implementing practices that keep you at your best and keep your brain nourished in a way that helps you learn and remember the best way possible. One of the, I guess, biggest misconceptions among students is that cramming the night before an exam is the best way to learn. Tons of research out there showing that actually when you sleep, this is when things you have learned throughout the day get consolidated into your memory. And you're more likely to remember them later. So think about that the next time you're putting off study. Oh, I'll just cram. I'll stay up all night. Pull an all-nighter. Because it may not be the best way to look after yourself or to get the grades that you're probably striving to get. So, when you think of self-care, what comes to mind? What are some things you think about?
Sleep.
Sleep, huge one, yes. Anything else? We just all sleep all day. I heard something.
Nutrition. Nutrition.
Nutrition, yes. Healthy eating. Even drinking enough water in the day.
Yes.
Exercise.
Exercise, huge. I'm actually going to go to the next slide because you guys are touching on some of these areas. There are a lot of different domains when it comes to self-care. So this is one of the more traditional aspects of self-care. And it's called the self-care wheel. And ideally, you can find activities that would slot into all of these different areas to help re-energize, refresh, restore. But when you think about how busy you are, how much you have to study, how much you have to do, how many of you study and work and try to hang out with your friends? Yeah, there's a lot to balance. And if this is the first time you've lived away from home, you've got to find time to do your laundry, clean your room, run your errands, because no one else is going to do it for you. So there's something called boring self-care, which is doing those what are considered boring household tasks, but they are also a way to look after yourself. So this is the same wheel, it just has different, and if you guys, I can email this to Noble or, yes, and she can put it on your D2L page, or you can Google it because it's everywhere. But some of the domains, psychological, so self-reflection, journaling, relaxing in the sun, emotional, so letting yourself feel your emotions, letting yourself have your emotions, not beating yourself up. We're so good at putting ourselves down. Spiritual, personal, professional. For you guys, professional would be more in the realm of education. But a big one about here is this concept of learning. Embracing learning. Embrace not knowing. Embrace asking questions. Embrace being curious. With an open mind. And then probably the one we think about the most is physical. This is exercise, sleeping, eating well, taking breaks. So those are a lot of the traditional ideas and probably the aspects of self-care that you are already familiar with. So this one gives you 8 types of self-care. But what we're going to do right now is because self-care means something different to everybody. So what's self-care for me may or may not be self-care for you. Or can you take self-care too far? So we're going to do a little activity. So you have to get ready to stand up or sit down. But I'm not going to make you move around because you're too many people. So I'm going to read some activities. If you think it's good self-care, just stand up. This will wake you guys up too if you're starting to fall asleep. All right. So taking a short nap in the afternoon is a good way to recharge.
Traction.
Okay, so it looks like a lot of you agree with that one. So, for me, because research and science shows that yes, a short nap in the afternoon is a great way to recharge. But I see some people who didn't stand up, so I'd love to know why you didn't stand up. You guys can sit down again. So, does anybody want to share why they don't think it's good? I would have stayed sitting. I'll just tell you that right now. I would not have stood up for this one.
I got it right.
Because for me personally, if I take a nap in the afternoon, I'm toast for the rest of the day. To wake up enough to actually then study again, it's not going to happen. I know that about myself, so that one doesn't work for me. But it looks like for a bunch of you it does work. So that is great. So here's another one. Exercise is one of the best ways to manage stress.
I think so.
Ooh.
Can I like punch over because I slightly agree with that?
Okay.
One of
All right, you can sit down. Interesting, because research shows this is probably the best way for the biggest majority of people to manage stress. And when we say exercise, it isn't necessarily going to the gym and, lifting weights or running a marathon. It's as simple as getting outside and walking around the block, walking around the lake. Even for 5 minutes, getting up and moving is a great way to manage stress. All right, spending time on social media helps me relax. All right. So, this is fun. You can sit down. This is one that can go either way.
R6.
Right? I can see it as a conversation generator. So when could social media work as a way to relax? It can be a distraction, right? It can give you a short brain break if you're studying a heavy subject. Watch a few funny videos on YouTube or scroll through your best friend's most recent posts. But what typically happens when we get on social media? Doom scroll. Yes. How many of us can actually set 5 minutes and then you're off in 5 minutes? Very few. Okay. How many of you have said, okay, I'm just going to do 5 or 10 minutes, and the next thing you know, an hour's gone by. And you could have been sleeping, you could have been studying. And how many of you feel better after scrolling on social media for a while? A lot of people, some of you have your hands up, but a lot of people, there's a lot of different reactions. That whole idea of FOMO, this fear of missing out. Oh, look at all the fun you're having. Or you start questioning, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I should be there. It makes you, what else? I was going to say something else. Oh, my daughter quite often refers to it as a time thief. It steals your time. Time, and you didn't realize how much was going to go by. All right, how about this one? Eating comfort food helps me feel better when I'm stressed.
See, that's another untruth.
I would say yes.
So for someone who stood up, would you like to share how it's helpful?
It's called comfort food.
There are certain foods that can bring you joy, a sense of familiarity. Food is great for bringing people together.
It's like a little treat or encouragement.
Yes.
Yes.
It can be, I get a little Snicker bar as soon as I study for 20 minutes. Yes, you can use it as a motivation. So it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's all about, but if you are someone who eats to deal with emotions, then it can become a problem. So this idea of emotional eating. You're sad, so you eat and eat and eat because you don't want to feel sad. Because typically then, you feel worse after you've eaten your bag of chips or whatever. Because let's face it, when we eat for soothing ourselves, it's typically not an apple. Or something healthy. It's chocolate, candy, chips, mashed potatoes.
Hey.
Well, it is. It's like potato chips if you have one serving, but who stops at one serving? Okay, how about this one? Attending events on campus and being part of social activities is good for your university experience, and it's a good part of self-care. Social activities. All right.
It's important, but it's like, it doesn't also stress.
Okay, you can sit down again.
I'm not gonna understand. Like, it's important, but
Is helpful. So what are some positive, and for those of you who have been in to talk about your results on the CSI, this is one of the areas they talk about. Because quite often when students come in, we see either they're really low in social engagement, or they're really high in social engagement. So there are benefits to both. Someone who is low in social engagement, it could mean that they're very focused on studying and getting good grades. Someone who is really high, it might mean they're so busy socializing that it's at the expense of their education, of their grades, of their homework. So this is what I mean when I say these can be good or bad. It's all about recognizing where your strengths are, what is easy for you to tap into in terms of self-care behaviors, and then using those to your advantage. And in some cases, in moderation. Because sometimes we think we are doing something for self-care, but it's actually draining us and taking a toll on other areas that we could be expending our energy, like your education, study, your job. I am going to hand out I'll just go to this next one as I explain it to you. For us to be really good at creating a self-care plan that is protective for us, we need to recognize what is taking our energy and what gives us energy. So if you just get one and pass it back.
Brains of
Oh, sure.
Usually 18.
that drains your energy.
Because that gives me energy.
So for example, if you are someone who likes to support your friends, but your friends don't come to you,
What about you, Josh?
now you are not studying, you are skipping classes because you can only support them. That's draining your energy.
What fuels your energy?
You know what ATP is? The energy that your body uses. Created through processes in your body. ATP. I mean, it's also an alternative, I guess, but
It's not ideal, but it's so effective.
Are there any extra ones in the back? I made 90 some odd copies. All right.
We got
thank you. Trying to steal my food.
then we got doom scrolling. What'd you hear?
So just take a couple of minutes to fill that out. So does everybody have?
Chemistry.
Oh, they're the same. I just ran out of yellow paper.
Doom scrolling.
Can I write chemistry 5 times? No, actually, I'm just going to do chemistry. Chemistry. I don't know anything else.
Which drains should I?
Existing. Yeah.
What doesn't drain your energy?
Huh?
What doesn't drain your energy? Besides sleep.
My injection slot.
Very fuels. It fuels me.
You know what fuels you as well? That is
The dispenser of injection sponge. Yeah. It fuels me with dangerous toxins that can destroy my brain. Now I'll put that. I'll put the game on there, and I'll put the game on fuels it.
Is that what drains you?
That's what kills me.
Okay.
I think he needs help.
Yes. So what makes you tired?
Chemistry. Like 2:30.
Oh. See, those are, so you are an extrovert or introvert?
Oh, sorry. Are we giving this to you?
No, this is for you.
I knew that.
This is just for you.
Who's an extrovert? I haven't seen you anywhere.
So can you be more specific around existing? Sleep is good though. Yes, when-
Oh, I know what refills my energy. I know what refills my energy.
Yes. Yes. And there's actually research that shows if you study in shorter blocks more often, you're more likely to retain information. Yes. So does everybody have a couple of things on this list?
Huh? My enthusiasm for swimming. Huh?
My neck is dead.
Yeah, makes sense.
This next question.
slip on it here.
I also think we should go
You have asthma? You swim like side to side and you swim. Oh, there's like a whole lesson?
Yeah, we have speed lab.
Oh, there's a lesson.
Yeah, we have to do it.
Right, so you told me that you were gonna get your lifeguard. Right.
So I did that, and it killed me. Then I started a lot strong. I died after the first class.
Now it's swimming is fun though.
Okay.
Fools me. But then when I get out of the water,
I've chatted with a couple of you and seen some of the things on your list in terms of what drains you and what recharges you. Is there anyone else who wants to share who we didn't, I know for a lot of you, something related to studying chemistry is on your list of what drains you. Just an FYI, although you probably already do this, you're a university student, so you're going to have to figure out a way to deal with that because you're here for at least 2, if not 4 years. And that's one of the ideas of this little activity is just to get you thinking about what are some of the biggest energy drains that exist for you. And once you know what those are, you can start to identify how can I manage those? How can I use that information to my advantage to create a better way to be looking after myself? So my next question is, you guys, most of you have things on the what I do to fuel my energy side. Of the things on that list, outside of sleep, because I know you all sleep, maybe not enough, but you'd be dead if you didn't sleep. What other types of things are on that list? So I know some of you had socializing, being with friends, exercising. When you look at that list, what is preventing you from doing more of what refuels you? Time. A lot of people say time. School, so the demands of school. What else? Nothing? So I'm here in vain. You guys all have it under control? Work? Yes, some of you guys are balancing being in school, working, studying. And for some people that's new. Maybe they haven't had to work and be in school at the same time. What about motivation? What about priorities? What about learning to set boundaries for yourself so that you have the time you need to look after yourself? So here's something a lot of people don't think about. Being able to set boundaries for yourself is a huge part of self-care. When we learn how to manage issues as they rise, manage conflict when it comes up, learn how to say no when we're already too busy and don't really have time to take something else on. Those are all really important aspects of self-care. Setting boundaries to protect yourself. But again, that's hard to do. And it's really easy to say, yes, yes, I know I need to do more self-care, but, and then that whole list of but goes on and on and on. Now, I have a video I'm going to show you, but it's about 15 minutes long, so should we take a break before or after?
No.
Okay, so 5 minutes and then come back, because we've still got a lot to cover. 45 minutes, but that's okay. I am now going to play for you a TED Talk that's about 15 minutes long, and it's going to introduce you to a mindset to encourage creative thinking, curiosity, and the ability to not shut down whether it's your or someone else's ideas. So just before break, I mentioned a lot of us say, oh, yes, yes, I know I should do self-care. I know I should do more exercise. I know I should sleep more. And but is always a negative in this sense, because it means I'm not going to do it because something else is going on. So this is entitled Yes and.
Two words can change your life. I do. You're fired. It's malignant. Or for us Central Florida people, 4 rivers. Yeah. There's 2 other words, simple, rather mundane, and very common, that when used together can also change your life and change the world. These 2 words, yes and. Yes and. Yes for I'm listening, I'm suspending judgment, and for I will add to it and help move forward. For example, when Rosa got on the bus, she said, I can ride this bus and sit in the front. When the computer whiz and his friends said, let's build an open source encyclopedia and make it free for the whole world. And JFK said, let's take a man to the moon and bring him back. Now, not all ideas should or could be as big as the ones I just mentioned. But I would like to propose that every idea deserves at least 1 minute of life. That's kind of radical, I know. There's a lot of bad ideas. In fact, I even Googled bad ideas. And there were 716 million entries that came up. So I took a moment and perused through a few of them, and I just randomly picked 3. A cement parachute, a glass hammer, and an invisible TV. So yes, sounds like pretty bad ideas. Well, I said, all right, I'm going to apply the yes and theory. I'm going to study these out a little. So it turns out that yes, a cement parachute is a bad idea if you're jumping from a plane and want to live. But if you're a band in Scotland looking for a name, the cement parachutes might be a pretty good idea. Or if contractors, I doubt, would use glass hammers. But if you're a woman working in technology and you just broke through the glass ceiling and you were nominated to win the Glass Hammer Award, that'd be pretty good. And invisible TVs, have you seen them? Well, maybe not. They're 72 inches long and 1/4 inch wide. So from the side, you can't see them. Yes and changes our perspectives. Psychologists tell us that we have all been conditioned to say no. In fact, the older we get, the more we say no. And there is a theory that we have a yes-no ratio in our life. Some more than others, I guess, because everybody would say yes once to maybe 4 no's, or a yes to 119 no's. It just sort of depends on your situation. But the key is to be mindful of what your ratio is, because we all have a yes-no ratio. Because it turns out that it doesn't really matter if an idea is good or bad. If it's new and different, we will say no to it. And because new and different ideas scare us, take us off kilter, and confuse us. And an off-kilter, confused, scared mind says no. So I would like to add something to the great statement that Victor Hugo said, that an army of men cannot stop an idea whose time has come. I would like to add, but we certainly try. And because we're so used to saying no, we don't even realize we're saying no sometimes. For example, when my boys want to go to a movie, I might say, don't waste your money, that's not a very good movie. Or maybe they're dating somebody, don't go out with her, she's a loser. I think I'm only out of love, I'm saying it only out of love. Or if they're looking at a certain major in university, I might say, don't take this major, you'll never get a job. Now I say that out of worry. But we just are blind sometimes to our no's. But when we do know we're saying no, we actually like to blame it on someone else or do other things, like for example the devil. Let me be the devil's advocate. And who wants to argue with the devil? I don't. Or we become historians. Didn't we try that 5 years ago? It was a bad idea then. Or we just simply trifle with people's emotions. And we say, hey, that's a great idea, but it'll never work. And we oftentimes roll our propensity to say no into our environments, and we become confounded by the environment, that we feel like we have to say no. I've had people say to me, I can't serve wasabi peas in my house, my kids don't like them. Or, we can't be creative here, we're too busy making money. Or, our boss doesn't want any new ideas. We already have our 5-year strategic plan. Or on a personal note, I'm too old, no one listens to me. I'm too young, no one listens to me. I'm too fat, no one takes me seriously. Or, and this hasn't been my particular problem, I'm too thin, no one takes me seriously. Well, I work in an environment that's very restrictive. One mistake could result in lawsuit, firing, or death. I work in a hospital. And about a year ago, we decided to open up an innovation lab, the Florida Hospital Innovation Lab. And the CEO, David Banks, invited everybody, all the employees, to come and participate. Ideas from everywhere, voices from everyone. And we built the lab on the idea of everybody has creative capacity and leadership potential. And we had 3 goals: to create better solutions for healthcare, to develop innovative and design thinkers, and to help build a culture of innovation. So when word got out, people started coming, and we noticed 3 categories of people. People who thought they had no ideas, people who thought they had all the ideas, and people who would shoot down the ideas. And so we realized that even though we had a really powerful innovation process, we would get nowhere without a yes and mentality. So we had to build a bridge of yes and start teaching basic, simple improv games to people. They were basic yes and. They gave them the example of what yes and really means. And we found that it works. We have over 50 projects in the lab now, and we've taught more than 800 people the concept of yes and. And we did a survey last month, and we found that 93% of the people that have been in the lab said they would come back, and they would recommend people to come and bring their challenges there. And we were pretty excited about that. Now, I'm curious, how many improv artists do we have here today? A few. Well, how many of us today are interested in being innovative, creative, or help create solutions for a better future? How many? Okay, good, all of us. Well, but there's a discrepancy, did you notice? A few improv artists, but all the rest of us are interested in being innovative. We found the same thing in the lab. People were interested, but they didn't think they could. Well, it turns out that improv and innovation are the same. You might say, wait a minute, improv is about comedy and jazz, and innovation is about creating cell phones and bladeless fans. But in reality, improv is not about comedy, it's poor, and improv is not about, or innovation is not about inventions at its core. Both of them are about two words, yes and they open space for us to move past our habitual ways of thinking and acting. And it gives you a tool that you can actually let your own true creativity be seen by the world. You can give a gift to the world. And if you don't give your gift to the world, nobody will. And the world will be lost forever to your gift. And yes and is the way for you to roll it out. The Economist told us about 6 years ago that creativity and innovation were our best resources for this century. The Harvard Business Review has had an article on innovation and creativity in almost every issue for the last 10 years. And Google, if you Google innovation, you'll get 415 million hits. Not as much as bad ideas, but it's sort of interesting. But there's a lot. And the really cool thing is, yes and is easy to do, believe it or not. All you have to do, there's no new words you have to learn, yes and, you all know that. And any language, it's free, and it just takes 2 seconds of courage. And when you say yes and to something, you immediately unite a community. You build bonds. You suspend judgment. You earn the now. You ignite the strengths of the group and the strengths within the group. And you also are able to embrace failure and learn from what the failure or see it as an opportunity. Now, I first encountered yes and in a very real way when I was in the 4th grade. And I was a really bad student. And when I, first, second, and third, I looked to the 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Eskew, and I could not wait to be in the 4th grade because I thought she was so cool. Even though she was about 120 years old, I reckoned. And when she would take her students out for recess, she would sit on the bench and fall asleep. And her kids had recess like 3 times longer. And when they went back into class, she would let one of the better readers in the class read, and she'd sit in front of her desk and fall asleep. And they could read the whole afternoon, so I could not wait to be in the 4th grade. So imagine my dismay when I walked in the first day of 4th grade, and Mrs. Eskew was not there, but a lady with very skinny legs, red hair, and a wrinkly neck. I was staring at her neck when she said, "Class, hello. My name is Mrs. Roster," and she turned and wrote it on the board. Well, it might have been my 4th grade wisdom, or my frustration that Mrs. Eskew wasn't there, but I said to her, I was sitting right in the front row, "You really ought to go by Mrs. Rooster since you look like one." So I was a bad student. Well, so she turned around just like that. And she said yes, and they have a dance, the chicken dance. And she taught it. She said, "Stand up, we're going to learn it." And she taught it to us. I remember it still. Beaks, wings, tail feathers, and 4 claps. Maybe you know the chicken dance. Well, a little later, a few weeks later, Ronnie Antone, one of the boys in our class, had to go to the bathroom. I knew the little bathrooms in the back. He went back, somebody was in there. And so he went up to the front of the room to ask Mrs. Roster if he could use the girls' bathroom. But it was too late. He peed his pants right down the floor. And so, we thought that was hilarious. And so Mrs. Roster jumps up and she drops some paper towel, grabs some paper towels, drops it in the puddle of pee, and begins wiping her feet. And she says, "Come on, class, everybody get some paper towels. We're going to learn how to paper towel ski up and down the classroom. And so she did up and down the whole aisles, and then she even thanked Ronnie Antone when we were done. She thanked him for the experience. Well, a little later in the year, she said we're going to be doing oral reports, and she assigned topics, and she assigned me Eagles. So, time went on, and one morning she said, today's the day we're giving our oral reports, after lunch. And so, I listened to her say that. I thought, okay, I have not done one thing to prepare. And I started to be filled with dread because I thought my life's going to end after lunch. And I just sat and watched the clock tick by. And I became more and more filled with dread, panic. Lunch came. I asked Mrs. Estrie if I could come in a little early. And I got out my little handwriting paper, that brown paper with the blue lines, and I wrote 3 sentences. And then I waited. The class came in, Mrs. Roster stood up, and she said, okay, we'll start the reports. She seemed pretty excited. I was just paralyzed with fear. And people started moving theirs, and finally she told me, Karen, we're not here about Eagles. So I stood up, and I knew she could not see my pounding heart or the tears at the edge of my eyes that I was about to shed. And I went to the front of the class, and I just stood there. And she said, okay, Karen, you can give the report. So I said, eagles are birds, eagles build nests, eagles can fly. And I knew my classmates were just going to break into gales of laughter. But she stood up and she said, class, Karen has just given us 3 characteristics of eagles. I'm going to write them on the board, let's fill it in. And she says, come up, if you know something, let's fill it in. If you want to draw something, you can draw. I went back to my chair, and the love I felt for Mrs. Roster was spread around the world. And the debt of gratitude I owed her, I knew could only be repaid by becoming a better student. Mrs. Roster embodied Yes and she inspired the creativity and the potential of my whole class.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. It's almost done anyway. Because we're going to implement this concept of yes and. Well, do you have any? Okay, I always lose my mouse when I have to. Okay, there it is. Any comments? Any reactions from the video? Does it make sense? This idea of instead of saying yes but, we can't do that, I don't know, I don't have time, I don't know how, I don't have someone to go with me, whatever the excuse is, to this idea of yes and. Because it opens up possibilities. It requires us to be vulnerable, it requires us to be curious, and it requires us to get creative. So here I will give you an example of how you can use yes and in a post-secondary setting in relation to whether it's your assignments or some other aspect. So Alex feels paralyzed by the mountain of assignments and keeps procrastinating until the last minute. Kind of sounds like what she did with her report on eagles. So let's see if we can come up with some yes and statements that can help Alex manage stress, prioritize tasks, and take this one step at a time. So instead of shutting himself down and saying, oh, yes, it's due tomorrow, but I can't. I don't have time, I don't know where to start, I don't know, fill in the blank. All right, so here's just an example of how yes and can be tapped into to look for the positive. So yes, and it shows that Alex cares about school because he's worried about the fact that he's got assignment to do, even though he's kind of put it off. Yes, and Alex could break the work into 20-minute chunks. So Alex could come up with a plan for how to at least start with his studying. Yes, and Alex could reward himself with a walk after he finishes the first task or the first piece of studying. Or he could have a snack, his favorite snack. Yes, and Alex could ask a study buddy to keep him accountable. So again, instead of just shutting off and saying yes but, and kind of giving up, because that's kind of what we do when we say yes but, we shut down our creative process. Using the yes and mentality to say, okay, even if I start small. And this is when I work with clients throughout the years, any change starts with a small first effort. What did it say? You know, every climb up the mountain starts with the first step. And at first it seems overwhelming, but just put your head down and keep going, and before you know it, you have it done. Depending on who you are, depending on how you plan things out, how you organize, for some of us, it's easier just to look at the first part, not worry about the end point. Otherwise, it feels overwhelming for us. I've got, okay, a couple more activity. Okay, I'm going to leave this one up for now, but I'm going to break you guys up. We'll just do groups where you can sit together. I'm going to hand you out some scenarios where you're going to be coming up with yes and responses to different scenarios. These are all post-secondary oriented. You might read some of them and think, well, is that really about self-care? Yes, because it comes back to this, the benefit of boundaries. Having boundaries, knowing how to organize yourself, knowing how to tackle a problem head on so that it's taken out of your scope of worry or concern. Got a lot of students, so I'll just put you four. Is that okay if I put you four together? We'll have you three work together. We can have, can you come over and work with them? Oh, no, wait, maybe I'll just have you turn around and you can work up here with you. I'm hoping that happens. I think I'm going to have to make these groups bigger, or give you less, we'll have you two. Yeah, I mean, you four do one group.
Over.
Two others.
You have to look up for that too.
It's mandatory that you go. It's Did we sign up for the bus?
I feel like some people are talking while I'm reading. I don't know. I just feel like there's this sense of people talking while I'm reading.
I feel like there's someone reading while I'm talking.
Oh, sorry. You should.
Okay. Maya is terrified. And feels like she does super well. She's in classes beside me. Goal. Use yes and refrain her thoughts. Create support behind more supportive. Come on, man. You two work on that.
Don't worry, girl. You got it. You're own power.
Chris works 25 hours a week to take We're supposed to do it on next group. How are we supposed to put them all different? Yes, and. We have to be positive.
Step one. Find some friends.
Exactly.
Getting this
schedule the one that told me. Like I call my parents every I mean, how about just say make a schedule?
I could, the only thing I could do is
You want to see?
do you even know what the question? Yes, you know. Where do you start from? Yes, and how do you support it? Yes, yes.
How do you even support it?
About that, how do you start it? Yes, yes. Yeah, you support it. Yes, you do. It doesn't help her in any way. It
brings peace. He wants her to know
he
that.
said yes and God loves her.
Oh!
It is the word, but it doesn't.
Peace, knowing that my worth is not
Okay, but if she asks,
we were saved by grace, not by grades. I got that off
you get kicked out of school.
I got that off Instagram. Even though, even if you do, God still loves you.
I agree. I don't know what you guys said right now.
You put down yes, and God loves her. You're the only
What's the actual question?
Wait, those questions are my answer. No, this guy Josh. Give credit to me.
My answer is
Ashton. Oh, you can answer that one too. Yeah, I can answer that one too.
yes, and God loves her. Wait, but like I was saying, it's just like
God makes you special and he loves you. Wait, no, this is important. This is important. This is important. Add that into your thing. God made you special and he loves
These are just you guys. What is one for each? And if there are any extras, just let me know. Yes, they're all there.
Aaron, did you think of anything for the one about the girl failing?
What was the thing again?
Like, she has a fear of failing, and something like that. I think that's what it was.
Oh. Yes, and she needs to remember that God made her special and she's learning. I said yes, and she needs to remember that God made her special.
Okay, how was that process?
Huh? She failed the whole year. Like, this is it. You're done.
So is it as easy as it sounds?
You failed the whole year.
Yeah. I know what you think of that. I just wrote that.
So, a couple of, yeah. I know the concept is quite simple, yes, but as you probably recognized as you were doing this in your groups, it does take creativity, it takes some thoughtfulness, but here's a way to make it easier. It's anything that comes to mind, give it, as the speaker said at the beginning, every idea deserves at least 15 seconds. So instead of saying yes, but, yes, and, give it a moment to live. Give it a moment to think about. Give yourself a chance to say, okay, if that was to work, what would it look like? How can I make it work? A lot of times we actually have what we need to implement good self-care. We just don't realize it. Or we don't recognize how to use what we have to our advantage. We live on a beautiful campus, and I know it's not too cold yet, and we don't have snow, but the fact that you guys can walk across campus to get from one class to another is such a gift, because that small amount of time you spend walking outside, fresh air, that is an excellent way to recharge, to embrace this idea of self-care. A lot of times, we don't recognize what we have. Okay, I love this because I think it's so true. People pray for cake, but when the Almighty gives them eggs, oil, butter, batter, a pan, and an oven, they get frustrated and leave the kitchen. What does that mean? Do you guys know Snoopy? Or Charlie Brown? Yeah. I'll be very sad when the day comes that he's not recognizable. When you read that, what message do you get out of it?
They want to have their cake.
And they want someone else to make it for them. They want it delivered in a nice package. But again, sometimes we have everything we need. It's easily attainable, and we just aren't willing to embrace it for whatever reason. So, being open-minded, being curious, using what we have. I mean, another thing you guys have is access to a very nice gym with all kinds of fitness equipment. Is it free for students? No. But it's like, what, $40?
They should.
$60 for the term. These are perks that you likely won't have once you're off campus. So take advantage. Now, you also received 3 additional papers. One of them is a self-care checklist for you to do just to see what you're already doing that fits into self-care. The other are some ideas. The pink one is some ideas for self-care. And the white one is a plan that you can use to develop your own self-care behavior using the yes and approach. Because, again, whether it's in relation to self-care, working through a dispute with or a conflict with someone you care about, a roommate, a friend, doing group work, or developing a class presentation, well, not even creativity from the start, a willingness to ask questions and a willingness to not know the answer, I guess. All right, any questions?
Josh, yes, Josh, yes,
I will see you guys in a couple of weeks when I come in to talk